Greetings and welcome to Let's Read Bioforge. We will not make any progress in this part, and I removed the 20-minute time limit. We will just read every little console that we find, like these and over there and so on, and in Medic Bay, and we have our logbook still, so I guess we will start here. I have to drink something. 1 second. Oh. Mission calendar. The following dates are recorded according to the Daedalus mission calendar. Entries are posted by Commander Wilm. D.O. The Ambassadoria encounters an alien spacecraft. Excerpt from the ship's log of the Ambassadoria. This is Captain Strom of the Ambassadoria. We are 21 days out of Stralia, en route to New Freedom's port. Today, while scanning some debris, we came across something with a sensor signature very much like a spacecraft. It had no identification beacon, and there are no records of any ships lost in this area. It resembles nothing that can be found in the spotter's guide, but our computer insists that it is a ship. We are changing course to investigate. At first we thought that this ship was nothing but a meteorite because its surface has become coated with so much dust and debris. This is definitely the remains of a ship, but unlike anything we, or anyone, has ever seen. It seemingly has no propulsion system, or perhaps it is a propulsion system, unlike anything we have. I can only assume that this craft has been produced by an advanced civilization that has never been before encountered. I have assembled a boarding party and we are going aboard. This ship is an ancient tomb in space for 8 non-human passengers who have been out here for an estimated 100,000 years. A preliminary analysis seems to indicate that the craft itself is powered by some manner of gravitic drive. It is completely unlike any technology possessed by the reticulum. On request from a medical officer, we are taking a dead alien specimen aboard for examination. This alien creature looks like a big marble statue. Our medical officer has removed it from its coffin. Remarkably, it is exhibiting signs of life. Many of the crew are dead. This thing tears its way through the structure of the ship, the way a mole digs through dirt. Nothing can stop it. Already most of the prime system have been knocked out. So far everyone who has encountered this thing has been murdered by it. The ship is inoperative and immobile. We have sent a distress signal, but I know that even if it is heard, help cannot reach us in time. The others all realize it, but we don't dare to say it out loud. The truth is that we are all dead men. Only a handful of us left. There is no other option but to take to the lifeboat and destroy the ship. The lifeboat has been sabotaged. I am the last one left alive. When I finish this, I will jettison the black box and then do what must be done. Every last member of my crew behaved heroically in the face of this danger and conducted himself benefiting the highest commendations of the reticulum. Let it be known that I accept the sole responsibility for this terrible disaster. This is Captain Strom of the Ambassadoria signing off for the final time. Self-destruct mechanism activated, both ships destroyed. D-42. Mondite ships intercept the Ambassadoria distress signal. As they approach the signal's point of origin, the signals jammed and distorted, ensuring that it will be heard by no one else. D-44. The destroyed hulk of the Ambassadoria and the fixed spacecraft are discovered. D-45 to 351. The spacecraft, alien specimen and forensics are examined. Black box intercepted. D-352 to 895. The calculations of location of fixed homeworld and astronomical corroboration are established. D-896. The Prime Paragon orders a covert expedition to the alien homeworld. He christens it Daedalus. D-897 to 1018. Mondites acquire and outfit a special mission custom long-range jump fighter, the Kasenko D-1019. The Kasenko launches, bound for Daedalus. D-1143. Kasenko arrives in the Daedalus system, establishes orbit around Daedalus, launches cartographic satellite. D-1145 to 1148. Cartographic satellite charts the surface of Daedalus. The surface of the planet is barren, completely absent of any evidence of an alien civilization. Base team specialist awakened from cryosleep. D-1149 to 1155. Computer analysis of Daedalus surface charts. Numerous potential archaeological sites exist beneath the planet's surface. The most promising of these is named Mount Zion. First team prepares. D-1156. Base camp established on the rim of the Mount Zion crater at the north pole of Daedalus. D-1157 to 1177. Deployment of equipment and personnel, establishment of preliminary shelters. D-1178. The Kasenko successfully performs a calculated hard landing inside the Mount Zion crater. D-1179 to 1268. The superstructure of the Kasenko is dismantled so that the base can be constructed from its raw materials. D-1269. Ground is broken to establish the building of the formal base within the site of the Mount Zion crater. D-1270 to 1359. Preliminary evacuation of the base interior is excavation of the base interior is completed. D-1360 to 1412. Further construction is delayed when the level of the acid lake inside the crater inexplicably starts to rise. After resting, the lake level holds steady, although it had engulfed over 95% of the available landmass inside the crater. D-1413. Commander Wilm, leader of the first team, dies in the construction accident. The following entries are posted by Security Officer Kanan. D-1414 to 1540. Miraculously, the construction of the base is completed, although it is more than 100 days behind the original mission schedule. D-1541 to 1600. Preliminary archaeological work begun. The mouth of the alien necropolis is discovered. This work is supervised by the leader of the second team, Dr. Escher. D-1616. The support ship Vasiria arrives in the Daedalus system. It brings new equipment and supplies, 2 marine dropships to provide security, and the new base commander Dr. Ahmed Mastaba. D-1631. Dr. Mastaba begins conducting research for the ABA project. D-1687. A large statue is discovered blocking the passageway inside the mouth of the alien necropolis. D-1688 to 1702. Numerous attempts are made to move or bypass the statue. All fail. D-1703 to 1733. A separate entrance is drilled into the alien necropolis. D-1734 to 1824. The first interior chamber of the alien necropolis is excavated. D-1825 to 1886. Analysis of initial ABA test subjects begins. D-1887. An alien specimen that shows signs of life is transferred from the big dig site to the cell block of the security level in the base. All further entries posted by Technical Officer Amdant. 1893. First successful ABA project prototype created. Security Officer Kanan and Prisoner Dane captured in an attempt to hijack a dropship from the landing platform. Oh, that's what we read about in the other logbook. 1895. Alien specimen escapes from cell block. Class 3. Reactor alert declared. Base evacuated. Ah. Okay, so they found someone else found a spaceship and they intercepted somehow and fucked them up. Ooh. Okay. The Daedalus base, a passage, excavation site restricted. Okay. Can I... Thank you. I have to readjust my chair. 1 second. Let me get there. 1 second. Ah, wonderful. Okay. Oh god, that's a lot to read. File appropriated from E. Escher, Personal Journal by A. Masterbar D8195. Are these really days? I mean, okay, you may argue it's not like, well, it is kind of like 5 years now? About? 4.5, 5 years? Gosh. The following are the notes of the continuing archaeological mission to the ruins of Daedalus, as written by Dr. Eden Escher, head archaeologist, Mount Zion Expedition. D1149. This moon, Daedalus, has never had a molten center, yet our geographic analysis shows massive geological instability enduring 1,000 centuries. This is a disappointment. There is no telling what might have been left behind by the civilization that once lived here, and what has now been lost to us for all time. D1152. Analysis of the satellite data has revealed a massive underground construction. 2 hollow wings beneath this moon's surface encircle the entire planet. One of them runs exactly north to south, the other runs along the equator. Together they look like the wings of a gyroscope. The equatorial wing has been broken in so many places over a period of thousands of years that it has been virtually destroyed. No doubt it has fallen victim to the geological instability of this planet. The north-south wing is worn and strained in many places, yet miraculously it is still intact. What an astounding achievement! It is truly a marvel of engineering. How tragic that it may be the only remaining legacy of a once great civilization. D1155. Great news! We have located structural remains with the potential to give us a meaningful look at those who once lived here. A cluster of ruins by an extinct volcano on Daedalus' northern pole. We named it Mount Zion in honor of the world where the Mondite prime paragon was born. D1215. Life here in Daedalus is hard. The isolation from the rest of the universe isn't nearly so bad as being constantly in the company of Mondite zealots. I went Mondite for the first time back in my university days, mostly as a form of intellectual protest. I do not regret it. With the rigid structure of the reticulum, any former scientific pursuit is the manacled slave of bureaucracy and economics. It is not for the Mondites I wouldn't have this incredible opportunity to actually hold in my hands the remains of a non-human civilization. I want to get started right this instant. Oh, so the Mondites are some kind of religion? Okay. D1354. The expedition has hardly begun and I already feel I may have made a crucial error. After yesterday's officers' meeting, I was pulled into a discussion with Commander Wilm concerning Mondite politics. Everyone here pays close attention to it than I do, and I went ballistic. How do you have a reasonable discussion with a group of people who are in favor of the imprisonment and mutilation of all those who disagree with them? I don't handle such situations well. They tell me I'm better at dealing with people after they've been dead a few thousand years or so. D1413. Commander Wilm was killed today in a construction accident. A large flooring section broke free of its support and fell on top of him. He died instantly. D1600. Now that the hardships of constructing the space are at last behind us, I can turn my full attention towards the thing which has brought us here. The day I saw the sensor data of the Ambassadoria, I knew that I would have to come here. I have been spying the studying. It's a horrible font. I have been studying the satellite pictures of the Mount Zion crater for months, and I am puzzled. Why construct an entire underground city along the lip of a volcano, extinct or otherwise? D1632. The acidic lake within the crater continues to confound our exploration. It has necessitated the construction of a crude catwalk to allow us access there. Previously one had to scale the crater, march along the rim, and then rappel down on the other side. The latter method was proving to be too dangerous, as the winds along the top of the crater can become strong enough to blow a man over the edge. Sorry. D1654. We have encountered an unexpected peril, a large carnivorous creature that lives in the exit lake. The thing visits us on a fairly regular basis. It is attracted to our bright work lights. Whenever it appears, everyone runs for cover and the lights are extinguished. After an hour or so, we are finally able to drive it off with a small arms fire. None of our weaponry is capable of seriously harming it. Every other day or so it reappears and the procedure repeats. We will have to be constantly on the watch for this thing. It could devour a man in seconds. D1687. The past 30 days have been a constant vacillation between hope and discouragement. We have been finding many tiny unidentifiable artifacts, seemingly decayed machine parts. Today we had our first major success. We uncovered a sealed chamber in immaculate condition, which may be the key to the entire complex. For lack of a better phrase, we have called it the temple. There is immense bas relief in the center of it. Okay? I believe it guards, or more accurately conceals, an entrance and will grant us access to the heart of the complex. There is a vast amount of writing on the walls of this chamber that alone should prove to be a find of incalculable value. D1688. Today we begin maneuvering our heavy equipment into the new chamber. If my suspicions are correct, it will be well worth the trouble. D1697. So far the statue seems to be getting the better of us. Attempts to move it have completely burned out the motor of our portable winch. D1703. Today we tried to dislodge the statue with a smaller mechanized digging tools. It did not even budge. D1701. After After a week of attempting to dislodge the statue from the floor, we have switched tactics and tried borrowing a small tunnel underneath it. Both efforts failed, and I am calling off further attempts to get around the statue for now. There is too much artwork and script engraved into the walls to afford damaging the place in our futile attempts. Analysis of the stone density show that we should be able to move it. There is some unknown force protecting this room from our invasion. I have no idea what it could be. D1703. Master Bar is not happy with the progress we have been making. I promised him that the team would redouble its efforts until we had discovered a way into the ruins. D1715. Still no progress. Master Bar made some veiled threats about taking over the project personally. If that happens, we will simply begin strip mining this place. I couldn't let this valuable find come to that. I must do something. D1717. I looked over the satellite analysis and have isolated a soft spot inside the crater. We will attempt to drill our own entrance into the ruins complex from there. This will no doubt cause some damage to the site, but there just doesn't seem to be another way in. This goes against everything I was trained to do. I know that historians of the future will no doubt see this as a terrible misstep and one that led to the loss of untold knowledge. I hope that it is also remembered that I was never given a choice. D1720. The deed is done. Several artifacts and some wall engravings were destroyed. They tell me that it could have been worse. I know that if I had been relieved of my duties, my replacement would not have been nearly as careful as I was. Still, what I have done is a crime. For the first time I feel as if I am no longer a scientist, merely a looter. D1724. We have completed construction of our entrance tunnel. I am having an airlock installed there. If possible, we will seal and repressurize portions of the complex area, filling it with our own atmosphere, which is less corrosive than that of Daedalus. 1733. Disaster! As we attempted to dig our way into the complex, the roof of the chamber collapsed. The first room has been completely filled with rock and dirt. 3 of our diggers were killed. 1734. We have begun digging out the debris from the chamber. Our plan is to hollow it out and re-support the ceiling. Perhaps something can be saved after all. D1764. The new ceiling supports to the first dig chamber have been installed. Now we can safely clear out the rest of the debris. 1795. The preliminary computer analysis of the alien language is complete. So far, it has registered more than 750,000 alphabetic characters. What? It is conceivable that translation of this writing could be decades away. Yeah, that makes total sense. Make like 1 billion letters. That's feasible. D1824. The first chamber is clear. Only a few artifacts were found here. None were recovered since the accident. We have begun the progress of replacing the atmosphere with our own. There is a corridor leading off from this chamber that must be regularly cleared of a particularly nasty variety of indigenous life-form vicious creatures that are somehow lighter than air. Beyond it lies a massive tomb. There is also one other passageway leading out from our chamber, which so far has proved impassable. D1845. A linguistic breakthrough. Initial character patterns from the computer analysis indicated that there could be writing in more than one language inside the temple. Now pattern categorization and mathematical analysis has backed up this idea. One of these languages has a remarkable statistical consistency, and the other is composed of nothing but component replication configurations. There is something else in the temple area. It must have originally had extraordinary significance. A series of rings that form an elaborately complex but clearly distinct pattern. It is placed in the center of the room and given such a profound display that I wonder if it might have some religious significance. D1854. I have turned my full attentions towards the linguistic work. Just the writing on the walls of the temple will provide me with enough to chew on for years. D1869. Zane, our engineer, has asked to study one of the artifacts recovered in the first dig chamber. He went on and on about the artifact's chambermagnetic and electrogravitational properties, and his theory that it was some sort of battery. Against my better judgment, I gave it to him and told him to report back frequently. 1873. That idiot Zane took the artifact and turned it into some sort of toy. I must be a bigger idiot because I'm the one who gave it to him. He has created a small flying craft using the artifact as a power source to store gravitic energy. Don't they see the value of this race, this culture? They have left so little behind for us to study. Bastardizing the last remains of their civilization is wrong. What is worse, either no one agrees with me about this, or no one is brave enough to say so openly. I asked Dr. Masterbo to give me the authority to repossess the battery, but he brushed me off in a manner that I found most humiliating. 1876. Inspired by the progress of Dr. Zane, Masterba also wants to use the alien technology in connection with his ABA project. Or is it ASA project? I don't know. Whatever that is. Yeah, whatever that is. Based upon my preliminary examinations of skeletal remains, it is my belief that this race once possessed materials and techniques for cybernetics far in advance of anything available to us. Masterba also appropriated a metallic cylinder that we had found in the dig site. I did not have very long to examine it, but I believe it could have been a powerful weapon of some sort. He told me in no uncertain terms that I was no longer allowed access to the items he and Zane had claimed from the site. When I protested, he claimed the situation was merely temporary. I know him too well now to actually believe him, but I do not have the authority to deny him anything. I am afraid I have made a critical mistake. I thought it would advance the project to bring in someone of Zane's caliber to help study the artifacts. D1887. In the tomb there is a sarcophagus which contains an alien that is now registered very faint life signs. We mustn't let what happened to the ambassador happen to us. I have informed Masterbar, and he has ordered that this coven be moved to the security level and placed under 24-hour-a-day guard. Oh, 24 hours a day. Oh, thought a year or something. D1891. For the first time since Mastaba's arrival, I have seen just what this ABA project is. There's a man in cell 1 who has been turned into some sort of animal. There's a man in cell 3 who had virtually his entire body replaced by machinery. I am ashamed to think that somehow I have contributed to these heinous acts. Work for my team's project has been borrowed for this. What can I do? The rape of the archaeological site and theft of the artifacts are now merely minor offenses to which I have become accomplice. D1892. I have attempted to communicate with whoever is occupying cell 3. He has been mechanized and mutilated beyond all recognition. Oh, I guess he's talking about us. Still, there is something about him which seems familiar. Or perhaps I am only sympathizing with his plight. We are both prisoners enslaved by a morally blank ideology which has distorted us into monstrous versions of our former selves. If I could do something to help him, I would. But there is talk that there have already been 2 others imprisoned or worse for resisting Mastaba's plans. I must watch myself, for I have not been quiet in my objections. If he perceives anyone as a potential enemy in this entire base, then it is certainly me. Oh yes, that's why I'm writing this logbook somewhere where everyone can access it without any security codes or whatever, just in the middle of this flight bay or whatever that may be. I need to drink something. D1894. There's nothing else for me to do. I am throwing myself into my work. I have made significant progress on translating some of this language. I have learned enough to know the real true name of this race. They are the Fix. Once I've finished reprogramming my linguistic computer, I will let the software take a crack at it. I'm worried about what Mastaba will do. That's why I'm writing it down on this log thingy here. There are way more of that. Oh God. Status emergency. Situation. Class 3 reactor alert in effect. Procedure. All personnel must obtain a hard suit and proceed in an orderly fashion out to the landing platform. All non-essential personnel have been evacuated to the Chelios, designated dropship number 2. Main systems. All main systems switched to full automatic self-diagnostic and self-regularity. Subsist. We already read this, no? All other overrides below command 1 level codes we signed it. That's what was written. What was this ping? I guess it's something we wrote down in our journal. Which makes sense. Oh, I have to read now what I wrote down in my journal because I don't... Anyways. Oh, God. The following is the 1985th installment of a 9,000-day collection of the wisdom of the third Mondite Prime Paragon Zulamesh Astradraya Namdangmaren. Oh, come on, it just put some letters together. The Prime Paragon is the living embodiment of the Mondite ideal. Zulamesh Astradraya Namdangmaren, I call him Bob from now on, lives a life of seclusion where he devotes all of his time to meditation and ponders the ever-deepening riddle of human and technological existence. The thoughts and actions of the Prime Paragon are always being continuously recorded and distributed wherever human societies exist, so that his followers may benefit from his unique and enlightened insight. This catalogue of the words of the Prime Paragon provides a daily thoughtful observation. D1861. Many years ago I saw the vision. It was clear and so real that its power obliterated everything else before my eyes. It began with one great ring. Somehow I knew that this wing represented all of human life as it now exists, or up until recently existed. Then another great wing appeared above it. It represented a perfection that was so permanent and absolute that there was no imaginable human equivalent. It was an aesthetic form of perfection, but one that was eternally improving and expanding, a perfection found only in machinery, which is continuously being upgraded, modified and perfected. Just looking at the image of these two wings, I could tell that there was something missing, something else needed to be added to complete the picture. Before my mind even grasped the comprehension of it, a third wing appeared, a circle that came from the center, that entwined and connected the other two circles together. The truth of it burned as bright as the sun. From that central circle the Monday movement was born. Gosh. D1862. Before the beginning there was nothing, and then from nothing came substance. But this substance was without value or meaning. Then came the true beginning. After the true beginning there was life, and this life was microscopic, and it was fragile and it was temporary. But it was this life that prospered because it was good enough. Then came the endless time of the change, and from this change we emerged, and we gave meaning and value to the substance that is the universe. And as we gave the universe meaning and value, we did change it just as it changed us. And when we did notice this change within ourselves, we named it evolution, and saw that it was good. At least they are not, what it's called. This game fried my brain. Creationists. At least they are not creationists. I would be pretty pissed off if I was sitting at a base full of creationists. Then again, I could beat them up, which may be a good thing. And with those changes came computers and machines. Soon computers and machines began to advance in an evolution all their own, only at a much faster pace. Then came the Mondites, and with them came a new beginning, for in this new age the force of evolution alone is not enough. It is wielded like a weapon aimed directly at ourselves, and must be as fast as a computer and as sure as any mechanized machinery. So the Mondites called forth the Prime Paragon, and the people heard the words of the Mondites, and they saw that the Mondites were good. D1863. The following is a pronouncement from the Mondite Prime Paragon. Quite often the Prime Paragon enjoys referring to himself in the third person as he speaks, because he is a douchebag. D1864. In the future, all those who are not augmented will be nothing. D1865. Political expediency must never be allowed to stand in the way of evolution. That also includes those who would do so in the name of alleged morality. Those who stand in the way of evolution in the name of morality are the most immoral of all. Oh, still talking about creationists there. Okay, so this game kinda did the whole augmenting thing before Deus Ex. I think it came before Deus Ex. I don't know. It could be after. I don't really care. I never played Deus Ex. For slowing the progress of human evolution harms the entire human race. D1866. All people feel an impulse for self-improvement. It is based upon and very closely related to the hidden, deeply rooted impulse they have for self-destruction. Everyone desperately longs for obliteration to be followed by a recreation in a new form. If this were a perfect world, all of us, every one of us, would be replaced. D1867. It is good for an individual to be cultured. In the past this was achieved by traveling to many places, but today that is no longer enough. Culture is really just the accumulation of fashion. So fashion must be accelerated for its absolute maximum speed, so that even without traveling people are exposed to absolutely as much culture as they can endure. D1868. Sex became passé the day they invented the assembly line. What has an assembly line to do with fucking? D1869. The following is a pronouncement from the Mondite prime paragon. It is said that one must continuously examine one's own life, but the prime paragon has found that this is not necessarily the case. Long ago, the prime paragon stopped examining his life and he began having others do it for him. This saved him a great deal of time, and it has been extremely liberating for him. Okay. D1870. The reticulum is a failed system because it is primarily interested in profit and is oblivious to the ultimate measurement of success, the eternal climb of evolution. Their petty obsessions hold them back, while the rest of us continue to grow beyond them. One day soon they will be obsolete. D1871. Recently I have spent a lot of time examining spiders and have become quite fascinated with them. Spiders came to me in a vision. When I looked at them, I saw people wearing shirts that have 2 extra arms and pants that have 2 extra legs. But why stop there? With cybernetic attachments, people can have 4 arms and 4 legs. It would be very convenient once one got over the confusion of learning how to use them properly. I see houses that have no stairs, ceiling or floors, only nets that people can crawl along on. Food and possessions are hung from the nets attached to them adhesive. For furniture I see semi-spheres for chairs and fibrous hammocks that you can wrap yourself up in for bedding. D1872. For a long time evolution was a force in the universe that pointed the way as lowly life forms stumbled blindly towards it, not even particularly aware of it or where they were headed. Look how far life in this universe has come since then. Now we not only have a certain extent of control over how fast we go, but we can decide where we are going as far as evolution is concerned. We must decide, for in fact, if we fail to choose a destination at this point, we will only stumble back to the dim place from whence we came. D1873. I totally lost track of what this is about. Flesh is the source of all corruption. Look at how much misery is brought into the world due to its limitations. Flesh is corrupt because it can die. The only possible resolution for flesh is death. To advance beyond where we have come, we must reject the flesh. We must choose an alternative. The flesh must be transcended. 1874. Style. It has been said is the struggle of form versus function. Machinists only follow function. I have to stretch. Form, they say, follows function, as if one were to control function, they would automatically be the master of form. This is only a limitation in the thinking. One must achieve total control over both form and function, specifically in order to create anything of real worth or meaning. This is truly style. D1875. I no longer eat anything that has been organically grown. Why? D1873. One must begin by doubting every statement. One must find a way of subjecting every statement to the test of experiment. One must continuously determine whether or not a statement or action serves the advancement of human evolution. We must do these things because we are evolutionary harbingers. D1877. We live in a society that has unnaturally prejudiced aesthetics. In art, living things are almost always the preferred subject of choice. What of machines and artificial creations? To create a portrait of an engine or to engineer the pathways of an algorithm would be seen as something highly original or deliberately unusual, but it is not. The assertion merely displays a set of standards that are out of balance. God, somebody had to write down stuff like that. I don't get games from this area. I mean, yes, story, blah, important, I get it, but you can't just put in books into a fucking game and say, okay, we have a huge story with lots of background. Then make several games where you explore this. It is much more fun to find out about these things than just sitting down reading now for 40 fucking minutes and... Oh god. I have to carry on. D1878. Just yesterday I was watching some video feed on my monitor display that showed a group of Castellomanine miners at work. I noticed the special protective clothing that they wear, and I thought how interesting the world would be if everyone were dressed like Castellomanine miners. What? Seriously? D1879. I make this following request to anyone who has read or heard my words. If you should ever encounter me in person, I sincerely ask that you kill me. Okay. I now thank you in advance. This is a trick, you say. Very well, I shall explain it to you. If you are ever successful in killing me, then you shall discover that who you have killed was never really me at all. Should you ever try to actually kill that person who is really me, the person whose words you are reading right now, you will discover that he is unkillable. Of course, I must inform you that death is the penalty for actually attempting to kill me and failing. Okay? D1880. The reticulum reveals itself to be de-evolutionary when it attempts to restrict the culture of the Mondites. The reticulum pretends that it favors all cultures equally, but it denies the natural superiority of Mondite culture, therefore defiling all cultures that would benefit through the emulation of Mondite culture or the absorbing into Mondite culture. The reticulum is anti-culture and celebrates the total absence of culture. D1881. A delicate follower of fashion is the only sort of individual that is truly socially aware. Seriously, I want to know what they told the guy who had to write all this text. Be as pretentious as possible. Be as unconcise as possible. Just write down words after words after words after words until you can't write anymore, and then we will hire someone else who starts writing, even though most of it doesn't make sense, and I don't know, and this is a pretty fun game. You're just not allowed to read all of the blocks. D1882. The ultimate purpose to which nanotechnology, nanomachines, can be applied is the continuous construction of our bodies and surrounding environment. That way we can live in a space that is perpetually being redefined moment by moment, as rapidly as the shifts in our mood of focus of concentration. Yeah, I have a really huge shift in concentration here. Every thought and every emotion can exist in its own unique physical environment. Our bodies themselves will become the exterior manifestations of our inner selves. Life would be much less complicated if all food was one same unique color. Why? Never heard of the ample system of eating? Okay, so if everything was the same, why would it be? Why do you write this down in your logbook of pretentious bullshitting? D1184. For a long time I have noticed how much better people tend to relate to computers than they do with other individuals. All of the people who I've ever met have lost limbs or had limbs replaced with cybernetics are more satisfied with the replacements than they were with their original bodies. The human animal is naturally a symbiote living in harmony with the machines it creates. The closer the unity between these two things, the more improved the assistance of both. D1885. Computers communicate with each other in a more efficient manner than human beings do. People communicate to a certain point and past that invent elaborate mechanisms that allow them to safely exist despite not communicating with each other. If I instruct you to forget something, you would probably not be able to do it, would you? That's pretty hard. D1886. The highest form of philosophy is mathematics. Okay. D1887. In the past, the history of all cultures could be found in its mythology. In the future, the history of all Mondite culture will be implanted through a nanite genetic encoding. D1888. In 4 days it is extremely likely that I will have some news to tell you. Hoo-hoo, I can't wait. D889. Something that I very much enjoy is the closing architecture, poetry, literature and music of the second Moesian era, as it was represented on the southern hemisphere of Australia. Good! What? D890. As of this writing, 5,830 Mondays have been arrested and charged with criminal activity throughout the reticulum. 975 of them were convicted. This is a percentage of 16%. As of this writing, throughout history, 100 members of the Parliament of the Reticulum were at one time or another formally charged with illegal activities. All 100 eventually stepped down and 93 of them were found guilty in court. This is a percentage of 93%. D1891. In attempting anything, one must always remember to perform 3 basic actions. Prepare one's self to receive transmission, establish the connection to one's power source, and transcend conventional reality. Really, what was the design document of this game? I mean, I saw the design documents of Larry and stuff like that. I had to eat something. And they were pretty detailed and writing down what was the intention, what was the design document of this game. Okay, we have shitty controls, horrible combat, and how about you take every future movie story with Star Trek, Star Wars and Blade Runner, especially Blade Runner, and you all mix them somehow together, and yeah, that's our background story. That sounds awesome. Yeah, walk on. I don't know, it's just there was a D892. I have recently created a new and highly advanced form of communication. I would like to say more about it, but I cannot. Oh, he's like one of these Facebook girls. Oh, I have such a huge problem. What is your problem? I don't want to talk about it. Then don't mention it in the first place. D1893. How dangerous that we place so much emphasis on body language and facial expression, and that we depend on it to such an extent to convey so much information. It is a carryover from basic animal behavior, and it is highly inefficient. D1894. Fashion is fascism in its ultimate and most benevolent form. Don't be followers of fashion feel superior to those who are not. Don't the followers of fashion exclude those with inferior fashion sense from their social order. Don't the followers of fashion place the mark of shame upon those all who are not, merely by wearing their uniforms, making both groups easily recognizable? Isn't the ultimate goal of the followers of fashion to obliterate the culture of all those who are not and replace it with their own? Oh God. Fashion is the most immediate and ultimately the most powerful force of social evolution. It must be openly embraced for social evolution and to prosper. 1895. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Oh God. Yeah. I hate this game. I hate it. They just strung together a few phrases that are famous. Took a little bit of a religious turn. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Ah, yes. Horrible. I have to pause real quick. I have to cry a little bit inside, and I will be right back. I'm back. Yeah. Earthquake. Nobody cares. Whoop. What do we have here? Oh, God. Ah, reactor. God. And what about here? Ah, that's the power source for the robot. Data log. Area data log level 3. Report. Corridor to main airlock. Ventilation system problem. Temperature rising above normal environment range. Air circulator inoperative. Air circulator clogged by foreign substance. Substance removed by repair bot. Overheated motor of air circulator replaced. Air circulator reactivated. Temperature returning to normal. Okay. Guess we have to click it this way. All levels perform air quality checks and report back by 1200. Engineering. Security level corridor patrol robot needs sensor replacement. Only SPs available, all 800s or older. Limited viewing distance, impaired intruder detection, 36-hour refit. This needs to be done inside of the next 24 hours. No excuses, I'm done. Security level cryo room. Cryogenics fluid tank needs refilling. Cryogenic fluid tanks refilled. Tower robot 113 has a bad collision detector. Okay. Collision detector replaced. Report from tunnel best sir. Digging machine destroyed by large animal. Request locked for replacement. Support level. Barracks. Battery discharge the maintenance robot. Electrical short and lower level mechanics repaired. Damaged battery swapped out with freshly charged one by repair bot. Control level. Operating room. One of the restraints on the examination tables have been broken. Examination table restraint repaired. Prisoner cell 2 ID unknown found in excavation. Escaped cell. Okay. Escape alert declared. Cell box door sealed. I want every available guard to the security level immediately. Systems damage. Electrical short and flooring subsystems. Many subsystems nominal. Maintenance sensor data inaccurate. Many sensors offline. Damage being reported too fast to be repaired by the robots. Reactor room. Dampen reactor immediately power down. Murd. Systems damage. Cooling tank penetrated. Reactor cooling systems rendered inoperative. Prisoner cell 2 detected in tanks. What? Escaped prisoner has dug from his cell down into the water tanks. Reactor room reports that the reaction cooling system is not responding. All reactor cooling systems negative. Temperature of reactor rapidly increasing. Class 1 reactor emergency alert declared. Switching to emergency power supply and attempting to take reactor offline. Negative response. The reactor control redundancy systems have been knocked out by a power surge. All team 3 personnel to the control room. Hard suit up and proceed to the reactor room. I'm done. Systems damage. Multiple subsystems throughout base damage by tremor. Class 2 tremor detected. Origin unknown. If tremors continue, it could threaten the structural integrity of the base. Our system's been flooded with automated damage reports. Shutting auto maintenance system off undone. System damage. Reactor breached. Toxic dose radiation leak penetrated support level. Temperature of plasma field reached dangerous level. The radiation leaked into the support level will kill all occupants within 1 hour unless the leak is sealed. Evacuate the support levels immediately. System damage. Multiple subsystems throughout base damaged by second tremor. Structural damage is preventing the orderly evacuation of the support level. The elevator tubeway is jammed. System damage. Lighting systems for corridor leading to main airlock inoperative. Power to support level out. As long as the power is out in the main airlock corridor, we can't do anything to clear out elevator tube break. Radiation leak intensifying in support level. Escapee detected in reactor room. Lower levels automatically sealed to prevent further radioactive containment. Team 3 proceeding to confront escaped prisoner reactor room. Reactor temperature increasing. All secondary shut-off systems failed. Class 2 reactor emergency alert declared. All security level personnel hold your posts. Multiple subsystems throughout base damaged by third tremor. According to sensor readings, the origin of the tremors determined to be result of uncontrolled reaction. Temperature of plasma field exceeded level of normal safe shutdown procedures. The reactor's never been this hot before. We don't know how she will hold up. The way this radiation is building, the steam will eventually be carrying it up into the security level. We'd better get our men out of there now. All non-essential posts from control room and guard room evacuated. Automated security systems for cell block activated. All non-essential subsystems off. Guard room doors sealed. All Team 3 personnel eliminated. No survivors. Subsystems monitor from support level utilized. Security code breach. User attempting to override the seal of support level. Support level subsystems terminal connection to central computer severed from its control room main monitor. It's too late to do anything for them, they're already dead. All surviving non-essential personnel to evac base via dropship 1 and park in orbit awaiting further instructions. Masterbar is staying to finish the surgical operation with a handful of guards for protection. He has ordered all control room personnel to abandon the post and evacuate. System damage. Multiple subsystems throughout base damaged by force tremor. Reactor emergency declared. Evacuation dropship liftoff. System damage. Multiple subsystems throughout base damaged by fifth tremor. Sensor reading. Radiation leakage into lower levels reached fatal levels. Results of tremors have rendered lower levels structurally unsound and impassable. Multiple subsystems damaged throughout base by 6th tremor. Oh wait. Repair? Oh, we can't repair anything. Okay. Wonderful. What do we have here? Oh, that's... Oh, okay.
Hangar to Dr. Mustafa. I've spotted the assassin. The assassin is now in the hangar area.
Yeah, whatever.
Impossible. He took enough electricity to fry every synapse in his brain. Guard the Icarus project with your life. I will return shortly.
Masterbar, he's stun-locking me! Oh. Let me turn around first.
When my time comes, I will not die a puppet like yourself.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, nobody saw this. Nobody saw this.
Mustafa's base hangar. What is your status?
Yeah, he's dead.
Down.
Icarus data. Can you stop doing that, please? Thank you. Special project report. This is the prototype for a one-man assault fighter craft. It utilizes the hull steel reinforced chassis of a 8700 MC retro motors Dragonfly XL hovercycle. God, who invented that name? It is powered by a customized variation of a graviton-absorbent reflexive engine as utilized by the native civilization of Daedalus. This particular craft is also outfitted with a completely airtight, pressurized, wind and heat-resistant enclosed canopy. The standard omnirotational pinion thruster system utilized for directional guidance by the Dragonfly has been augmented with a Starship capable velocity dampener and accumulator, albeit downsized and vertically rebuilt. It has a cruising speed many times the speed of sound. So far it has never been flown at its absolute maximum top speed. The craft was designed and constructed by Dr. Dual Sane, base engineer. Our test pilot is Captain Perry Gabing of Security Section. Hunger logs. Test flight 1. Oh god, there is so much to read again. I hate this game. One-man assault fighter flight log, compiled by Dual Sane. Test flight 1. The initial test flight of the one-man assault fighter was a fly-around along the interior of the Mount Zion crater. It lasted 8.1 seconds. Afterward, our test pilot reported a sluggishness in the pitch and roll of the aircraft. Test flight 2. After moving the alignment of the tilt directional stabilizers to full forward, it was decided the second test run would see how well the problem had been corrected. The pilot ran the aircraft through a series of shimmies, rolls and aerial sideways skids. After 15 minutes it was judged that the problem had been corrected. The flight continued for another 17 minutes. At one moment the craft broke out over the top of the Mount Zion crater and swung back down into it. According to our orders, we were not to stray from the crater, but our test pilot's enthusiasm must have gotten the better of him. He was severely reprimanded by base control. Test flight 3. After fitting the craft with an early version of its canopy, it was time to do some speed tests. At Mach 4, the canopy tore itself off. Miraculously, the pilot was able to stay on board the craft and managed to safely slow it down. At this point, the remainder of the flight was called off. The pilot reported that he had not even revved the engine up to 1/4 of its full power. Test flight 4. This time a specialized wind-resistant, airtight and pressurized version of the canopy was installed. During this test flight the canopy held. The pilot demonstrated that the craft is capable of achieving a speed many times the speed of sound. Its exact top speed was not detected because of a guidance problem. At high speed a massive vibration shook through the chassis of the vehicle and it hopelessly distorted the instrumentation readings. Based upon observations and examinations of the craft, it was postulated that it could reach escape velocity. Test flight 5. After the previous flight, the secondary velocity dampener and circulator of the Kazenko were stripped down and installed into the craft, and all of its instrumentation was hard calibrated. The exterior canopy was again reinforced and made heat resistant. During this test flight, the pilot attempted to perform a full vertical takeoff. The objective of the flight was to measure the functional ceiling of the craft. The one-man assault fighter was completely out of sight within a few seconds of takeoff. 28 minutes later the craft returned. The pilot reported that he got disoriented once he completely lost planet face up there, and returned to the base. Instrumentation confirmed the craft was completely beyond the author atmosphere of Daedalus, but not at stable orbital distance. The pilot took more than 3 times the duration of the ascent and returning to the surface of Daedalus. Heat resistance of the craft is one of the things that have not been severely tested yet. Test Flight 6. The craft was prepped for its first orbital test flight. Once aware of the astounding capabilities of its power source, we were anxious to see if its limitations were as boundless as our imagination. Our test pilot hard-suited up and climbed aboard the vehicle. The craft would be out of radio contact for roughly half of the flight, so we knew this was a big risk we were taking. If something were to go wrong on the other side of Daedalus, we were not equipped for rescue or recovery mission of any sort. We cheered as we watched her take off and speed out of sight. 8 minutes later we received the radio signal we had feared. The vehicle was malfunctioning. Despite our calculations, it did not have the power to achieve orbit. Something was preventing it from achieving stable orbit. At that point, communications with the ship were broken. Minutes later there was a light in the sky like the fiery tail of a comet. It was headed straight for the Mount Zion crater. No one knows how the pilot got the craft onto the landing platform. The sickening echo of it slamming into the metal rang on for long minutes afterward. It finally faded as the flames were extinguished. Then a noise rose up from the clouds of exhaust. The sound of the servo mechanism opening canopy. Our test pilot removed his helmet and issued the report. Damn, that is one sweet ride. Remarkably, the craft came out of its almost as well as our test pilot. The structural damage was all fairly superficial. Most of the other secondary repair work has already been completed. The only problem remains the battery powering the engine, which either completely drained or more likely decharged when the electrical systems aboard the ship became superheated during re-entry. Until we somehow obtain another battery capable of holding at least 375 units of charge, highly unlikely, seeing the first was a more than 100,000-year-old archaeological find, the one-man assault fighter project remains permanently grounded. Oh, another bring! So again, I guess that's the journal. I will read the journal before I finish the game, which will be another 5 billion hour episode. Yes, blaster, whatever. We have the medical bay reading left, which thankfully all of these show the same. Oh god. Project logs. Let me drink something. Okay. Oh god, it's so bad to read. Project notes compiled by Mastaba, Doctor, Acting Base Commander, RFA project. This project was initiated by the Prime Paragon of D96, Daedalus Mission Calendar, to develop a prototype assassin fully augmented. The typical AFA instrument will be a near-perfect physical specimen fitted with a complete range of cybernetics. A walking arsenal that will, once the final stages of development have been completed, be able to mingle undetected and interact in a human normal population. The AFA series of man devices will fulfill an important role in the advancement of the Mondite movement, carrying out a variety of missions including, but not limited to, security, espionage and political assassinations within and beyond the environment of the reticulum. This glorious goal heralds the first 2 steps on our path of self-determined evolution. The AFA... wait a second. This is the first? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 18 pages. Oh god. I hate this game. The AFA project will be carried out in 4 stages. Stage 1 involves the successful development of a fully integrated cybernetic organism. A desirable AFA candidate will be resistant to prosthetic rejection, with a metabolism that can withstand extreme chemical and surgical treatments. Augmentations will endow the subject with extra human strength, endurance and reaction time, simultaneously keeping the subject safe and the installation secure. Will no doubt present base personnel with numerous unexpected challenges. A secondary line of research during this stage of the project is to expand upon the previously developed genetic engineering techniques of the RF427 project, as well as the ABA, Assassin Biologically Augmented, oh come on, it's bad, project. This will benefit both projects immeasurably. It will enable us to develop a more robust candidate through progressive gene swapping. Elaborate DNA-RNA mapping will alert us to potential candidate deficiencies, so that developmental problems can be immediately addressed. Stage 2 will move our candidates through a series of treatments that will completely wipe their memories. Currently, an experimental surgical technique is being considered for this phase of the project, but it's an extremely delicate procedure. If it leads to the development of unwanted side effects, we are equipped to switch to the standard electroshock method. However, if this is achieved, this will no doubt leave subjects in a highly stressed and disoriented state. It is at this point that the subject will be the most dangerous and difficult to control. Various mimetic analog insignia will be implanted and recalled to indicate the level of success achieved in each candidate during this stage. At this stage there may also be additional data implements, designed to speed up the candidate's progress through the third stage. Stage 3 involves relocating candidates from this base to another installing to participate in a broad-based training program, ranging from use of military hardware to Mondite philosophy to convert actions. At this stage, candidates will be turned over to the hands of other units. Stage 4 involves the full physical and electronic camouflage of all prosthetics, plastic surgery for the purpose of establishing new identities, specialized customization, maintenance and upgrade refitting. So, Snatcher. Various elements of the camouflage being developed for the AFA project have yet to be fully and successfully implemented. This stage will most likely occur at whatever particular base of operation and instrument is assigned. If initial operations are successful, Daedalus will become an assembly plant and preliminary staging area for all future AFA candidates. Due to its extreme isolation and the fact that its existence is unknown to the reticulum. Progress Report 1. I find it somewhat startling that the implications for the advancement of the Mondite movement, which are inherited in the AFA project, are not yet recognized. The unification of man and technology represents a liberation from the flesh, a heretofore unattainable state that is central to teachings of the Prime Paragon. I shall demonstrate this more clearly once this project has been taken to a successful conclusion. Progress Report 2. So far, the preparation for creating the first AFA candidate has gone well. Out of 260 potential test subjects, we have determined that 13 will be suitable for first stage implementation. This is significantly higher than the original estimated figure of 2%. As of this writing, all non-suitable test subjects have been expended. Progress Report 3. After a fairly substantial amount of deliberation, I have finally decided upon a suitable form of mimetic analog insignia. My mother was an orchestral fluidist, and one of my earliest childhood memories is watching her perform. Okay. I have broken the biological operative instructions for several of her favorite pieces into an RNA Doppler chip that will be implemented into all stage 2 RFA candidates. That way it will be a fairly easy method to determine if subjects have been successfully mind-wiped. They will be able to play the flute. Okay. Progress Report 4. Today I have performed the first of the operations. A wondrous new age has begun. I have witnessed the tortuous, bloody intercourse of anatomy and machinery, administered to the birth of its first generation. As spoke the philosopher, here's to the new age of gods and monsters. Progress Report 5. So far, much of our work and our designs have functioned as well or better than expected, but success has eluded us. There have been psychological complications, many we have not foreseen, but I'm confident we can overcome those. There are other difficulties that I find more disturbing. Our subjects have not responded well to the program, like animals raised in captivity. They go into shock when removed from their cages for the first time. In this case, their cage is the physical limitations of their own bodies. They become savage and animalistic, or lapse into a dangerous delusionary state. These worthless, ungrateful cattle have no understanding of what is happening. They do not appreciate the gift we are bestowing upon them. There is nothing more to be done with them than to move into stage 2 as soon as feasibly possible. Progress Report 6. The mind wipe operation is extremely difficult. I could not successfully complete it on my first 2 attempts. Since then I have discovered one usual side effect. The mind wiper widens the rift, perhaps temporarily, between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And this side effect manifests itself in extreme weight test subjects become desperate to write things down. Some even bite at their own fingers to write in blood on the walls. No sooner do they finish writing than they immediately look over what they have written. Okay, I guess that's a nudge at what I just mentioned. Like, oh, I have to write things down, and now I have to read them in order to. What they've written. None of them seem to recognize or remember their own writing. It seems the subconscious mind, now isolated from the sensation, thought and memory of current experience, becomes desperate to re-establish communication with the conscious mind. It makes me curious to test the procedure of an illiterate subject. I will include any more observations of this phenomena in further reports. It remains to be seen if the procedure will have any settling effects on the subjects concerning their psychological unbalance. Progress Report 7. After numerous first attempts, there has been no progress in overcoming the physiological trauma attached to the procedure. This is something that could not be anticipated. To acquire life above and beyond the flesh is the path toward which all humanity has been striving for centuries. Yet when that goal appears to be achieved, the result is insanity. So far, every subject I have operated upon has fallen prey to this malady, which I call metamorphosis-induced schizophrenia, a fear of being changed that manifests itself through a dangerously distorted sense of reality. This condition, while initially psychological, triggers a severe alteration of brain chemistry that has rendered every subject we have worked with completely useless. I think the game even again nudges on it, as if you regularly check your logbook after you wrote something in, he will make an entry. I have no idea why I'm always checking what I just wrote. It's kind of funny. Progress Report 8. Out of sheer frustration, I am shifting over to some of the genetics work. I am putting the surgical assembly of AFA prototypes on hold for the foreseeable future. Search teams have discovered numerous fascinating and unusual animal species living in and around the Mount Zion crater. I doubt that any such work will lead to a solution to the metamorphosis-related schizophrenia problem. But for now, I will welcome the opportunity to occupy my mind with a fresh set of problems. Gosh. Progress Report 9. We have manufactured a startling variety of curiosities. If only our goal had been to produce a number of original attractions for a carnival, then I would feel perfectly confident in declaring our project a success right now. Progress Report 10. There is a species of insects on this planet like a carrion beetle, which has a short stubby tail with a stinger on the tip of it. This species is capable of reproducing asexually and normally lays eggs when it has accumulated too many of the capacity of its body. Most of these eggs die because they require a warm, dark, humid place for them to hatch successfully, and there are few places that meet the requirements on the surface of Daedalus. So this beetle locates a victim to sting and injects its eggs under the skin of another living creature. The eggs are provided with a living hatchery that provides the absolute perfect conditions for them to develop and hatch successfully. While handling the specimens, we have acquired Techniken. Odin was stung. The eggs are microscopic and completely undetectable until they grow and they hatch, and by then it was too late. Odin had come down with what the others here have called hatching fever. The body attempts to kill off the eggs like it was fighting an infection. In fact, it only makes the host body more accommodating. I stayed with Odin through a series of his convulsions. He pleaded with me to help him in such a desperate manner that I found it somewhat difficult to assure him there was nothing I could do. He became loudly vocal in his agony. Odin was shouting about he wanted to live, about some woman from his past, about all the things he wanted to do with his life. Many of the others could hear him, and I was afraid that it might begin to affect the morale of the team. So I opened up the back of his skull and attempted to perform the mind wipe procedure. He was certain to die anyway, and I thought it better to learn an Odin instead of potentially damaging one of the AFA candidates. The operation went more smoothly than I thought. At first I was afraid that his agitating immune system might reject the RNA Doppler chip, but such fears proved to be unfounded. Odin was still many hours away from death, and when he awoke, I was delighted to discover that his panic has gone. With virtually no past memories left to relate his experience to, he has no apparent negative reactions to being devoured from the inside out by the carrion beetles. I stayed with him until the end. We were able to watch and experience together the creatures burrowing their way out of his body for what was a miracle of birth in its own way as beautiful as the birth of any human flesh. He died playing the flute. Oh gosh. It was a very stirring sonata often played by my mother. Hearing it again after so many years brought tears to my eyes. It wasn't until several hours had passed that I realized I had already come up with the solution for the metamorphosis-related schizophrenia problem. Perform stage 2 first. Progress Report 11. Inspired by the progress of an engineer in using fixed technology to create a flying vehicle, I am now determined to utilize very other elements of fixed developing technology in developing my AFA prototype. Oh my god, it is so much to read. Progress Report 12. I know that this will be our first successful candidate. Today it looked into my eyes and I had no words for it. After all, what does one say when one looks into the eyes of his creation? What does one say when one has encountered his evolutionary superior? I must begin again immediately. I only have one potential test subject left, so I must hurry. If all goes well before this day is out, I shall have my second success. Progress Report 13. A reanimated fixed soldier has escaped from the cell block. In less than an hour, it has single-handedly devastated our base. All surviving personnel are being evacuated. I shall join them, but not before I finish this operation. Okay. Case histories, biodata. Project Ava case histories. Warning, the following material is restricted to command level personnel or higher. All those without proper clearance must stop reading at this point. Okay. No. The following are overviews of ABA case histories, assembled in random order with all mentions of time or specific order or identity of the subject deleted, in accordance with prior established security procedure. Subject Zelmak Vidor, a new initiate into the Mondite inner circle. He professed to have moral objections to various tactics and objectives of the movement. He was placed in the ABA program because it was simpler and more advantageous to the movement than simply murdering him outright. Experimentation AFA Cybernetics Stage 1 and 2. Comments none. Restricted. Okay. Subject Kainan KC, a guard assigned to the Daedalus base, caught while attempting to betray the project and the movement. It was deemed that killing him outright would simply be a waste of resources, considering he fits the requirements of an ABA prototype candidate. Experimentation ABA, Genetics Alteration Stage 1 and 2. Comments. Kenyan was never considered a serious content for the ABA project, just a mass of expendable tissue that conveniently became available. This was the guy we killed, the blue guy, as you can see, beard and stuff like that. Kind of works. Blade Morgan, mercenary frequently employed by the Mondite movement, subject hired for the kidnapping of John Highhill. Afterwards was suspected of bringing back the wrong man and was taken as a replacement. Oops. AFA Cybernetic Stages 1 and 2. Comments none. Zarta Tomic, convicted multiple murder from the ESCA system. Subject was obtained post-execution. A substitution of the lethal injection formula administered to him placed him in a death-like state, and his body was then smuggled out of the morgue. AFA Cybernetic Stages 1 and 2. Comments none. Noral Sonja, an attempt to genetically cross a human with a very rare sort of mammalian predator. Potential results: hyper-fast reflexes, regenerative healing, heightened senses and killing instinct. ABA full implementation. The desired abilities combined with a considerable Okay, doesn't look that bad. Would have made her a very effective weapon for the Mondite cause. Wesmer Jarrett. Subject was paid to participate in experiment. Biological State 1. Greater caution needs to be taken in order to ensure the biological security of the base. I'm pretty sure these are the developers. I can just imagine them being like, oh, let's make us superhumans. I guess this is the guy who wrote all the text. Draggle Norn volunteered for ABA project after discovering he had a terminal illness. ABA project stage 1. Common suspect expended. Faraday T. Assumed name and background. Subject believed to be a plant from the Reticulum Intelligence Ministry. ABA biological stages 1 and 2. Subject died after approximately 48 hours due to a metabolic incompatibility with a new genetic structure. When Lexon. Subject sentenced to death for piracy. Volunteered for experiment in exchange for a lighter sentence. ABA biological stage 1. Subject expended. Linnea Page. This subject was an attempt to combine every cybernetic subsystem currently developed into one single AFA candidate. AFA Stage 1. Such an experiment had never been conducted before. While I knew the chance of success was very low, I was curious to see the results. As for the subject, she has been most uncooperative and was deemed expendable. Popul Marco. Subject was a Mondite scientist instrumental in the design and construction of the cybernetic limb replacements. He volunteered to become an experimental test subject in order to further serve the movement. AFA cybernetic stages 1 and 2. Comments none. Nestor Strom. Captain of the Reticulum High Guard ship Ambassadoria, discoverer of the first fixed spacecraft detected by humanity. Subject mutilated and attacked from a reanimated fixed soldier. AFA cybernetic stages 1 and 2. Subject demonstrated an extreme lack of gratitude. John Highhill. Subject located through a multi-system sweep of medical center computer records. Subject perfectly matched the physical requirements for an AFA candidate. Subject acquired through kidnapping performed by Morgan Blade. AFA subject stages 1 and 2. Subject didn't seem suitable for this project at all. There was apparently some sort of error in his medical records. Art Tremnor. Subject was a biologist who had been the recipient of numerous experimental brain implants. Due to his tissue type and history of adapting well to cybernetic implants, subject was recruited into AFA project. AFA cybernetic stages 1. Make a note, there shall be no more ABA AFA test subjects who already have cybernetics implants installed. Well, Leno, subject had numerous types of camouflage projectile weaponry installed. Cybernetic stage 1. Know your implant misfire resulted in malfunction in upper armature servos. Subject's upper extremities became entangled in his jaw and right eye socket. After 1 hour, all attempts to free the armatures have failed as the armatures has locked into position. According to the cybernetics technical readout, the armatures unlocked automatically when arm extensors are activated, which would have theoretically given the medical team a few seconds to remove the armatures. However, activation of subject's arm extensors resulted in subject extending both his arms and his head to the point where it became separated from the rest of his body. Okay. Baron Dodescarden. Subject was a self-professed enemy of the Mondite movement, personally responsible for the destruction of over 1,000 installations and the deaths of over 200 members. Yeah, he really looks like a trained assassin who can destroy installations and stuff like that. Subject was captured by the Mondites and placed in the AFA project so that he may be used to advance the movement. Mel Twastic. Although a loyal member of the Mondite movement, Subject was too incompetent to be allowed to continue to serve it. Subject allowed Baron Dodescarden into Mondite installation, thereby resulting in its destruction and the deaths of 87th member. As Subject matched the tissue type requirements of the AFA project, he was deposited here. AFA Cybernetics Stages 1 and 2. Nothing more to report. Dot Esgabera. The subject acquired through Body Bank. Stage 1. The subject attempted to murder me. Thankfully I was able to remotely shut off his internal life support. Remaromonic. The subject was a mental patient obtained through the cooperation of his Mondite physiologist. Subject has a history of self-mutilation, acting out of violent behavior. This rejection of his own body and desire to commit violent acts marked him as a potential AFA candidate. Lynn Warner. Basic AFA offensive packages, limb replacement, internal organ augmentation. An unfortunate accident with work she might have been an acceptable prototype candidate. Union So. Subject was a highly decorated space movie. Yeah. From the forces of Nakarat, a prime physical specimen with a determined technical background and highly trained in all forms of combat. Yeah, he really looks like someone like that. Subject is now officially listed as missing in action. Cybernetics Blood 1 and 2. Martic Dane. Subject was an ensign in the Reticular Merchant Fleet. A jump arrow brought him too close to Daedalus. For security reasons, his ship and crew have been eliminated. Blake Westman. Subject was a member of the lower social class, popularly known as Berserkers, which one... He really looks like a berserker. Which once populated the eastern sector of the world known as Astaroth. Subject matched rare tissue type required for blah blah blah, and discovered through a routine scan of computer files. Since he is a berserker, the subject will not be missed by any respectable element of the society. Berserker. Jonathan 1. Subject was an amnesia patient in hospital on Stralea. His name was given to him by the hospital staff. That's what he came as Jonathan 1. Subject learned of a hospital were recruited staff member. Nancy Ziddig. Through extensive skin graft, attempted to create a subject with an epidermal layer that secreted an undetectable but highly toxic substance. The subject's death seems to be the result of an allergic reaction, either to a chemical administered during the operation or to an alloy used in the prosthesis. That's it. Good. Bring! What did I just write down? Ah, there are many entries in my journal, but I have not made them. Or does this device record my unconscious thoughts? Okay. Let me check something. Yeah. If I understand this correctly, one of these people listening to these files has to be me. I wonder which one. Yeah. I think I forgot two. Okay, we only have one more logbook to read. The guard's logbook. Let's hope that this will work out. No, don't put it down.
A logbook.
A logbook? God. A security breach of the airlock has occurred. To re-establish space integrity, the airlock has been resealed. The new locking pattern is in the positive O-ring configuration. The grid is in X-Epsilon emulation mode. I think that's important. Okay! That's... yeah.
A blaster.
A blaster. 4. 90 minutes of reading. I hate this game. Actually, I kind of like it, but whoa. They really needed to learn how to precise a story. I mean, Resident Evil has a lot of story too and a lot of background, but it wasn't just thrown out like that, like, here, take more logs, 80 pages of reading, woo! Oh gosh, I am so exhausted. I think there aren't that many more of these logs left. So... hopefully I won't have to do anything like this anymore. Anyways, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, because it really drained me. And we will see each other soon. So take care and goodbye.